Every man who has loved deeply eventually asks the same silent, profound question. What is the secret that makes a woman stay? What quality transcends the ephemeral allure of money, the temporary appeal of looks, or the fragile facade of perfection? We chase status, we refine our charm, we measure our success by external metrics, yet we often miss the invisible anchor that binds a woman's soul to a man's journey, creating an attachment so deep, so primal, that the act of leaving becomes quite simply unthinkable. This secret is not a technique you can learn, nor is it a trick you can perform. It is a fundamental shift in your character, an embodiment of three core masculine archetypes that women's psychologies have been wired over millennia to seek, bond with, and defend. The woman who stays, who chooses you over and over, even when you stumble, when your finances are uncertain, or when life throws its worst, is not staying because you are perfect. She is staying because you have become irreplaceable, and that irreplaceability is built on the bedrock of the defender, the hunter, and the leader. The first quality that creates this unbreakable bond is the paradox of the defender, the ability to let her feel utterly safe, precisely because you have let yourself become dangerous, not to her, but to the world that might threaten her. This is not about being a brute or seeking conflict. It is the demonstration of controlled, capable strength. She needs to know, on an unconscious, primal level, that the man she lies next to possesses the capacity for violence, but chooses peace. That he has fangs, but reserves only softness and tenderness for her. Too many modern men confuse kindness with niceness, avoiding all confrontation, shrinking from necessary friction, and agreeing with everything to maintain superficial calm. This husband is, in fact, a danger to her well-being because he is incapable of being a true buffer against the chaos of the outside world. He may provide a home, but he cannot provide a sanctuary. She does not need a gentle friend. She needs a rock capable of standing firm against the storm. When she sees you stand up to an unreasonable boss, deal firmly and calmly with a social slight, or take charge during a genuine crisis, these moments forge a deep, psychological bond that bypasses all rational thought. This is attachment created through the demonstration of capability. A true defender makes her feel free because he is strong, not trapped because he is weak and insecure. His strength is the architecture of her freedom. He is the quiet warrior, alert and protective, as he walks through the dark, who uses his power to build and preserve, not to control and restrict. His protection is an emanation of his internal discipline, not an excuse for his jealousy. The second irreplaceable quality is the hunter, the man who maintains his vital, all-consuming mission while simultaneously making her his non-negotiable priority. This is the great paradox that destroys countless relationships. Women are biologically drawn to men who are building something, pursuing a vision, becoming something greater than they are today. If a man makes the woman his entire mission, abandoning his purpose for total, devotional availability, she inevitably loses attraction. His love, no matter how sincere, becomes smothering, and his lack of external drive registers as a lack of fundamental worth. He loses the fire that drew her to him in the first place. The successful hunter avoids this fatal mistake. His mission, whether it's a business, a craft, a humanitarian endeavor, or the mastery of a complex skill, is the foundation of his meaning. But she is the meaning of the foundation. She is not an obstacle to his success. She is the reason the success matters. The irreplaceable man does not ignore his family for his work. He uses his family as the driving force behind his ambition. He builds his empire, knowing that every cornerstone he lays is ultimately for the secure, beautiful world they will share. When he wins, she wins. When he builds, he's building for both of them. He elevates her role, making her feel like his secret weapon, the indispensable motivation that fuels his relentless drive. When a man loses his purpose, he becomes needy. His gaze turns inward, and he begins to pull emotional energy from the woman to replace the passion he once found in his mission. The hunter, however, is constantly generating energy. A man who wakes up with a purpose that precedes his existence, making him an endlessly fascinating and profoundly valuable partner. Finally, the third archetype is the leader. The man who leads the relationship, his family, and his life with clear vision, but leads without dominating. Modern culture has attempted to dismantle the concept of leadership in a relationship, but the female unconscious has not evolved past the need for direction in a chaotic world. Leadership does not mean dictatorship. It means taking absolute responsibility for outcomes. When confusion reigns, the leader provides clarity. When decisions paralyze, the leader weighs options, chooses a path, and takes ownership if it fails. The woman who leaves a nice but directionless man often does so because of sheer emotional fatigue. The exhaustion of having to be the one who constantly decides, plans, and charts the course. I already have to make 1,000 decisions at work, she thinks. When I come home, I want someone who can take the wheel. The leader doesn't simply ask, "What do you want to do, honey?" He says, "I've been thinking about the next 5 years. I've laid out 3 possible paths for us to consider, each with its pros and cons. Let's talk about them." He creates vision, not work. He anticipates problems, initiates necessary conversations, and takes ownership of the relationship's health rather than waiting for her to bring up every issue. The key distinction from domination is service. The irreplaceable man leads in service to the relationship's highest good. He is the captain, but she is his first mate, the one whose input is vital, whose well-being is the primary consideration of every course correction. He guides the ship, ensuring they reach their shared destination, but he never treats her as a mere passenger. These 3 qualities, defender, hunter, leader, are not merely desirable traits. They are the key components of a woman's deepest psychological requirements: safety, value, and direction. When a man embodies all 3, she stops comparing him to other men. The rich, handsome man who lacks the defender's edge feels boring. The passionate, charismatic man who lacks the hunter's purpose feels unstable. The kind, sensitive man who lacks the leader's vision feels exhausting. The irreplaceable man delivers a unified masculine presence that fulfills these primal needs. It is a common mistake for men to try to conform to what they believe women say they want: a perpetually sensitive, emotionally available, and passive partner. Yet their unconscious attraction systems are searching for a man who can be emotionally available within a strong masculine framework. When a man develops the discipline, purpose, and clarity inherent in these archetypes, the relationship dynamic fundamentally shifts. She stops testing his boundaries because she trusts his strength. She stops nagging because she is satisfied with his direction. She softens, becoming more feminine and supportive, because she is safe to relax into her own natural energy, knowing he is holding the line. The man she will never leave is not a man who accepts disrespect or compromise of his own standards. Irreplaceable men have options, precisely because they are rare. They do not stay because they have to, but because they choose to honor the woman who recognizes and receives their value. They continue to grow their capacity as a defender, advancing their hunter's mission and refining their leader's vision. They understand that their task is not to trap a woman, nor to trick her into staying through manipulation or dependency. The true mission is to become so genuinely valuable, so authentically masculine, so truly irreplaceable, that for her to leave would not just be painful. It would feel like leaving the best, most directed, and most deeply supported version of her own life. This is the difference between a man a woman is obligated to stay with and the one she knows she must stay with. It is the difference between surviving a relationship and forging an unbreakable, passionate, 50-year bond. The commitment to irreplaceability is the choice to create profound value, not for her but for yourself, knowing that her devotion is merely the natural magnetic consequence of your transformed state of being.